It's now been 1 week since Canada Post workers walked off the job over wages and working conditions. Today, members of other unions joined postal workers on the picket lines in solidarity. And meanwhile, as the strike drags on, the impact is growing on businesses, charities, and families. Dale Manukduk reports.
Unionized workers have the right to go on strike.
Postal workers and other union members staged a solidarity rally in Toronto with some support from passersby. They are just a small portion of the tens of thousands on strike since November 15th.
Our members are out 2% of their annual wages for the year. No matter what wage increase we get, we'll never make up for that. Because we're not only standing for wage increases, we're standing for dignity, to retire with dignity.
Postal workers aren't the only ones losing out.
Thank you.
Small businesses are too, according to the Canadian Federation of Independent Business.
They are concerned about losing out on sales. They're also concerned about not getting some of the materials they need to offer their services or their products. So ultimately, this is something that's going to affect their costs.
The CFIB sent a letter to the Minister of Labour urging Ottawa to intervene and move the sides towards binding arbitration.
Even half joking, when the CFIB writes a letter and sends a letter, how does that get delivered given the strike?
Well, it gets delivered by email. So yes, fair point.
Email? That's no fun, but at least it gets the job done. Meanwhile, Christmas is in the air, but the magic of writing Santa a letter and getting a reply has vanished along with the strike.
I've been wanting a lot for Christmas, so I've been writing a lot, so that's why I'm really excited to send it to Santa. I'm planning to make a big list.
Canada Post says due to the strike, mail to and from the big fella in the North Pole isn't happening. Last year, Canada Post says it helped Santa deliver responses to 1.4 million letters from around the world. But for now, parents are on their own.
We actually have a special delivery system through a little elf that visits our house. So we're just hoping that through this really one-on-one intimate relationship that our elf Snowflake has with Santa, that the letter will get to him.
Canada Post hopes the sleigh to Santa will resume as soon as possible. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A day after the Ford government introduced amendments to its already controversial bike lane removal bill, the Premier faced questions today about those changes. Changes that would protect the province from being sued if a cyclist is hurt following removal of those lanes. Lane Harrison has the details.
They're backed up from here to Timbuktu in the cars.
The Premier repeated the same talking points his government's been using for weeks, saying at a fire hall in Hamilton that the lanes cause congestion, defending his government's decision to remove them, but not directly answering questions about new amendments to the bill.
Bike riders are important. Go on the secondary roads that run parallel, a few feet away from the existing roads. Be careful out there.
The changes would shield the province from litigation if a cyclist is injured or killed on a road that used to have a bike lane. Ford was asked how he defends the move while Toronto is dealing with one of the deadliest years for cyclists on record.
My heart goes out to the families, and I'm so sorry that happens. It's just like I'm sorry when people get in car accidents and motorcycle accidents and so on and so forth. And, that's terrible.
I'm actually kind of shocked that what I thought was already a pretty terrible piece of legislation has gotten worse.
The move is drawing strong reaction, including from cycling advocates like Cycle Toronto.
They know this piece of legislation, if enacted, will put people's lives at risk.
Mayor Olivia Chow saying she knows firsthand how dangerous riding without a bike lane can be.
I've been doored on Bloor Street without a bike lane. Now I ride on Bloor Street with a bike lane. I feel very secure.
The city has said it expects to be reimbursed for the costs incurred installing the bike lanes, but amendments to the bill would also ensure the province doesn't have to do that. One biking injury lawyer says he's not aware of any precedent for the amendment that shields the province from litigation. He explains how liable Ontario could be.
The motor vehicle is usually the primary suspect when a collision occurs. But if there are other contributing factors, like a car parked illegally that blocked a line of sight, or a pothole that cause the cyclist to weave into traffic. Those things are also attract liability. So it's not 100% with the driver. If you remove a bike lane and a collision occurs, it could be 30% on the government. It could be 50% on the driver, things like that.
The amendment still needs to be voted through in the legislature, but with a Conservative majority, it will likely pass. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
Some premiers are reacting to the Trudeau government's 2-month tax holiday. The Liberals are planning to drop the GST on a wide range of products for 2 months, including groceries, restaurant meals, and toys. The premiers say the plan means provinces will lose tax revenue as well. Olivia Stefanovich explains.
I found out about this yesterday in a news briefing that came across our desk.
Blindsided, PEI's Progressive Conservative Premier wants federal compensation to make up for revenue the province loses because its sales tax is harmonized with the federal sales tax, called the HST.
We figure our numbers are somewhere around $14 million, I think is the impact for us directly to the Treasury.
It looks like it'll cost New Brunswick revenues about $62 million, which is a lot.
The Liberal government in New Brunswick is bracing for an even bigger hit. One it hopes the federal Liberals will take on for the cash-strapped province.
That's not money that you can just find through regular efficiency mechanisms. So there's a conversation we'll be having with the federal government about how they're going to offset that so that New Brunswickers don't feel it.
Every provincial government across the country understands how important it is to be there for Canadians who are facing real pressures around the cost of living.
When asked if Ottawa will reimburse provincial governments, the Prime Minister wouldn't directly say.
I'm expecting provinces who see the challenges that their citizens are facing to realize that this is a way they can be there for people as they face the challenges of the next few months.
We did it 2 years ago. We just didn't go out there and do cartwheels.
The feds appear to be borrowing a page from the provincial playbook. Several, like Ontario, don't charge a provincial sales tax for many of the household items the federal tax break affects.
I got to give them kudos. Any government, I don't care what political stripe, wants to put more money back into people's pockets, good for them.
The federal government is also following in the lead of several provinces by handing out one-time relief checks. The Liberals say they will send $250 to every working Canadian in April. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ontario has signed on to the National School Food Program. It's getting a passing grade from teachers, but others say it doesn't address why kids go hungry. Heather Gillis reports.
This was too small. I have to equal this up.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau taking a bite out of hunger today for school kids in Ontario, folding Canada's largest province into the National School Food Program.
We've now reached a deal that's going to deliver healthy meals to 160,000 Ontario kids more over the coming year. This is a huge difference. We're talking about close to 10 million meals just for the rest of this school year.
First promised in 2021, the feds announced $1 billion for the program earlier this year. Today, giving Ontario $108 million over the next 3 years. That's on top of the $33 million Ontario already spends on school nutrition for meals and snacks for 600,000 children. Premier Doug Ford, absent here today, but endorses it.
I'm a fan of it.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow welcomes it too, but wants a bigger helping of cash from the province and feds to feed more kids.
But yes, because we don't have enough funds, often you have to cut the banana several ways.
2 million people in Canada visited food banks in March alone. A quarter of them children. The head of one of Ontario's largest food banks says the deal is a win for children and their families.
And this will make a meaningful difference in their lives. But it doesn't address the systemic causes of why they're food insecure. It doesn't address a lack of affordable housing. It doesn't address income securities that are wholly inadequate.
Teachers, though, giving the program a pass.
Providing students with healthy food at school improves physical and mental health, improves their ability to concentrate, reduces absenteeism,
And the kids.
It was important for us to be here today because many people don't have lunch and stuff during the day. So this is important for them because they have snack programs.
When implemented across the country, the feds say the school food program will feed 400,000 more children, with 7 more provinces and the territories yet to join. Heather Gillis, CBC News, Toronto.
Food banks in the GTA are asking people to donate as the holidays near. But this year, one local charity says that alone won't be enough to help address the crisis. Tyler Cheese has more.
Hello. Hi. Did you want rice or rice? Lois Morgan Ford has been using the food bank since she lost her job in the fall of 2023.
I didn't know how to make ends meet. And so I found myself in a situation where it was like, what do I do?
She says she's seen firsthand just how busy the food bank can get.
It's an issue. It's a huge issue.
North York Harvest Food Bank says it's broken its record for client visits 3 times in the past year.
Actually, we think last month was the 4th time over the last 12 months.
Normally at this time of year, food banks are running donation campaigns for the holidays, but this year the stakes are higher.
We know that that is not enough. We are not the solution, and we cannot replace a robust, publicly funded social safety net.
2 weeks ago, North York Harvest and Daily Bread Food Bank released their annual Who's Hungry report. Toronto Food Bank saw about 3.5 million visits in 2024. That's up by about 1 million from last year, and almost 4 times higher than pre-pandemic numbers. The report makes specific policy recommendations to all 3 levels of government, including increases to disability benefits, more investment in nutrition programs for kids, and more affordable housing. But
we're being ignored by people who are in positions of power. And until that changes, we're going to continue to see more and more people coming to food banks.
CBC News reached out to government offices to ask if they are reviewing the recommendations. The City of Toronto says the annual report informs policy decisions for a range of programs, including its poverty reduction strategy. Ontario's Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services outlined recent poverty reduction initiatives, but did not say whether the report was being reviewed.
I would ask for the public's help in helping us to sound that alarm and making it loud enough so that people who are in positions of power are forced not to turn away.
He's encouraging people to read the report for themselves and to contact their elected officials to express their concerns. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
The Toronto leg of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour wraps this weekend, but many fans were priced out of the ticket resale market. As Ali Chiasson reports, some are now asking the government to crack down.
Those who secured tickets to Taylor Swift were treated to the show of a lifetime. Those who tried to get tickets, seeing the exorbitant prices, well, they've got bad blood with those resale sites. For this next pun, let's go to Toronto MPP Kristen Wong-Tam.
Not all Swifties have had an enchanted experience.
Today, members of the provincial NDP were flanked by some disappointed, diehard fans.
I would have to pay 1, 2, 3 months rent for a single ticket, and I simply could not do that.
They're calling out the resellers that gobble up tickets and flip them for thousands.
As actual fans, we aren't able to even get the opportunity to maybe get tickets.
If I paid such a high price, would I even be in support of these artists that I really admire?
'Tis the damn season to fix Ontario's ticket resale market. Thousands of tickets have been sold for thousands of dollars above their original sale price. And these margins are going to people who don't even like Taylor Swift's music. They're not even Swifties, they're not even fans, and they're all profiteering.
Competition watchdogs across Europe and the UK have launched inquiries into inflated ticket prices. The US Justice Department is suing Ticketmaster Live Nation to potentially break up the monopoly.
That's something for the federal government to step in and to do something about. Now, in terms of the resale of the tickets themselves, something that can be done is the provincial government can control the regulation in the terms of the sale prices and the conditions attached to the resale. They can force the ticket prices when they're resold to be capped at a limit, which would be following what the EU does when it comes to resale.
U of T business professor Daniel Chai says it's about time Canada does something.
This is one of those events that kind of shines a light in the corruption and the rot when it comes to the resale market and how people can be exploited with fake tickets and how people who are desperate for an in-demand event are willing to spend almost anything.
The Toronto Eras Tour ticket fiasco begs the question, are you ready for it? Regulation? The The fans would say so. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. The province marking a major milestone today in Toronto's transit future.
I'm proud to announce that crews have officially broken ground to begin digging the Ontario Line subway tunnels at Exhibition Station. These twin tunnels will span 6 kilometers from Exhibition Place to the Don Yard west of the Don River.
Provincial Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria was joined by Federal Liberal Minister Ahmed Hussein. The nearly 16-kilometre Ontario line is expected to be finished in 2031. Chris Glover has more on the challenge of tunneling under downtown Toronto.
We're here on the pedestrian bridge that leads from Liberty Village over to Exhibition Place, and this is an important spot for the Ontario line, the final stop on the 15-station subway line, and the provincial government announcing today, along with Metrolinx, an important piece of the project. For the first time in some 60 years, tunneling work is being done under the downtown of Toronto, and this is a big part of Metrolinx's work to build the Ontario line. I have Andrew Hope with Metrolinx here now. Can you explain for me, we're looking over this spot where the excavation will begin and that tunneling work will begin. Can you explain why the tunneling part through the downtown is so important for this project?
Absolutely. So this is one of the most challenging portions of the Ontario line to build, obviously, is through downtown Toronto, built up dense urban area. We've recently reached a major milestone here that we were celebrating today, which is the completion of piling work for the portal where the tunnel will begin here at Exhibition Station. It'll continue about 7 kilometers right through downtown Toronto, all the way out to Don Yard, just by the Don River and the DVP. So a great milestone on the project to get to this point.
And I kind of love this word, the portal. That's actually where the tunneling, the boring machines will go down to go underground. And from what I understand, once they go through that portal, they're going all the way from here, ground level, down 45 meters. Can you explain to me what happens once they get down that far and start to do that work?
Absolutely. So at the portal site here, at the deepest part of the portal site, we're excavating down about 16 meters, and that's where the TBMs will launch on their journey underground. As we go through downtown Toronto, at the deepest point of some of the tunnels, we'll be down as low as deep as 40 meters underground, tunneling through bedrock along Queen Street as we make our way through downtown Toronto.
Obviously, this has not been done in like 6 decades here. Are there any surprises that Metrolinx and your crews are thinking that you might unearth, you might find as you go underground for the first time in all of these years?
Well, one of the things as we developed the design for this section of Ontario Line is this is one of the reasons we're down so low, was to get below a lot of the utilities and foundations and everything that you would imagine you'd come across as you're tunneling through downtown Toronto. But we'll have a very intensive monitoring program in place throughout the tunneling drive, making sure that everything is within tolerance as the TBM progresses across the city.
Show everybody what we're seeing here and exactly where that portal will go as we look down through this vantage point.
So absolutely, if you look out here on the right side, you can see a line of things that look like little pegs sticking out of ground. Those are the tops of the piles that go down many, many meters underground, all the way across. And then there's a similarly, you can't see it because it's under that pile of dirt there, but there's a second piling wall on this side. And that marks really the boundary of the launch shaft. And obviously the next thing you'll see, if you came back here in a few months, you'll see more and more as we excavate that all getting dug out and excavated so that when the tunnel boring machines arrive after they're manufactured, they're ready to start and go into that tunnel, that portal.
How long will it take to actually build that portal?
Probably the better part of a year to finish the excavation and do all the concrete work and get everything ready so that when the tunnel boring machines arrive, they're being manufactured in Germany. Everything is ready to go for them to be assembled and started up in the tunnel.
Okay, Andrew Hope, well, thank you so much for telling me all about it. And then ultimately, once all of this is done, this will actually be the platform for the Exhibition Place stop, that final stop of the 15 on the Ontario line. And we know that once it's up and running, it's expected that some 400,000 Ontarians will be using that, or riders will be using the Ontario line each and every day. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette is here with a look at the forecast. And Colette, a bit of a breezy one out there today.
Yeah, it really was, Kelda. You know, we had those winds coming in from the north, and for much of the day, those winds were gusting around 40 kilometers an hour. Even the sustained winds were around 25 to 30. So, yeah, a little bit of a breezy feel, and that was layered on top of the fact that we had the cloud cover and some showers here and there at times, and today's highs looking like this, a range, not much of a range, but from 6 to 8 degrees for Windsor, Toronto at 7, Kingston, Ottawa also at 7 degrees. And so what we saw in precipitation, it was showery activity. But I want to take you west just to talk about what's happening with now this second system that is moving in for the western seaboard. And what we're finding is that as this moisture crosses the Rockies into Alberta, Saskatchewan, this is going to be a multi-day event of snowfall. So all these areas that you see here in white, yes, that would be a snowfall warning, 15 to say 30, maybe even over 35 centimeters of snow in some cases. Somewhere like Edmonton, it's about 15 to 25. Some of the heaviest there in Alberta will be coming down actually tomorrow through the day on Saturday. We're still dealing here on the eastern seaboard with that area of low pressure, kind of the energy has transferred over, and we get that counterclockwise circulation around this. So we still see this wraparound. So we get showers coming in at times. Now, again, stateside, it has been the snowfall, some of it heavy. If you happen to be watching Thursday night football between the Browns and the Steelers last night, you saw quite the game in Cleveland there with the snow falling. They were making snow angels, all kinds of things going on. But again, with our temperatures, it stayed as showers, and that's how it looks as we go into through the overnight tonight and into Saturday. But what you'll also begin to see for southwestern Ontario, some sunny breaks tomorrow, more for the GTA probably into Sunday, where we'll start to see some of those breaks in the cloud deck. Now, when it is coming down as some rain showers, look at this, very, very light in nature. So it's more the clouds, not a lot of moisture here to work with. The winds, those two, which I started off with talking about how strong they were through the day today. Well, there'll be more from the northwest to westerly tomorrow, but they back off a bit, so not as breezy as today. A look at your overnight lows, 2 to 5 degrees for those lows. So the overnight lows are definitely running above seasonal. 8 tomorrow. Sunny breaks hopefully Sunday, 6 degrees, and then we get into some much cooler air, Kelda, coming in as we go towards midweek next week.
All right, thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.